What the hell do I know? I'm just JB, middle-aged dad with ADD. Candid combos, jokes so lame, jabronis pulling a poker face. Just a couple of dudes with ADD. What the hell do I know? With JB.
What up?
What's up?
Juice is like, cheer. That's what he always does. But welcome back to another episode of What the Hell Do I Know with JB. And I've got a great episode for you. I appreciate everybody that tunes in every week. I always say I have a great episode. I'm always excited for who's sitting in my studio. But today, I got my homie.
I'm here. Live.
I got my homie live, Mr. Joe Chapman. And I'm so excited just to have you here. And it's totally different setup, totally different stage. It's just the two of us, just me and you in here. I asked you, you came down. You do a big buddies kind of golf deal every year here in the Destin, Miramar Beach, Santa Rosa Beach area.
Yep, good golf
like
group.
Like Thursday through Sunday sort of thing?
2 or 3 rounds of golf, hanging out, seeing the sights.
Every year. And you all lived in the same community, but now it's maybe 2 of you still live in the same, or 3 of you maybe.
3 or 4, but at some point, everybody came from the same neighborhood, almost like little homies back in the day.
Right.
But we come down here, play a little golf, and eat some seafood, and I try to hook up with you every time I can.
So when you do this, you kind of cycle in, give me a heads up.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah. But hopefully I'm here, and then we can connect. And I was like, man, it would be great if we couldn't just sit down. Hopefully we'll keep this pod a little shorter than some of the other ones because it's just you and me. Yeah. I don't have the other jabronis to... Although we are going to see Juice later today at a crawfish boil. I'd had him in, but it's a Sunday, and I thought it'd just be kind of a special, like, Friendsgiving, or something. I mean, here's the thing. We've been boys for a long time. And we've been friends for a long time.
Most of our lives.
And so we're boyfriends.
Well, that's one way to put it. I was thinking more like bro friends or something. But, you call it
our kids will love that one.
Yeah.
No, but that was so good. At any rate, man, it's been like 4th grade. I mean, so I moved to the area when I was in 2nd grade. Yeah. You, though, were in Atlanta, so 3rd grade. So that's about the time. I know I've told this story many, many pods back when you came on. Yeah. You're actually like the only really, I kind of consider you like a guest honorary co-host because you've been on the show, you've co-hosted it with me, you've been on several episodes when you come down. So every time you get down, I love to just throw you on.
Well, I like it. It's been a minute, so I'm glad to be back.
It has been a minute.
Yeah.
But man, it was
the studio looks great.
Yes.
First of all, I've actually been in studio.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for mentioning that. Welcome to the Floorzz.com studio.
I like it.
Floorzz.com is your one-stop shop for all your wall covering and remodeling flooring needs. You go to Floorzz.com, FLOORZZ.com. Tell them the jabroni sent you. They will take care of you for sure. Man, gosh, I'm glad you mentioned that. No, it really is. And we're actually going to Mike's house.
That's even better.
So so I'd have forgotten to mention the Floorzz.com studio. They're great sponsors, so you've got to check them out. By the way, 5% off all your flooring if you're first responder and teacher and military. I mean, Fantastic. Like just have your government ID, put it into a code, you get 5% off all your orders. So they do a great job there.
Good old Mike. That's awesome.
Oh, no, it's an awesome thing. Of course, it's so good. But yeah, we're doing something totally different. But we've known each other. You were third grade. I've told the story. You came into church. I was already there, I guess, in 2nd grade. My mother, we found First Baptist Church Jonesboro. So shout out to all the folks at FBCJ. Maybe they'll rock on this show. Yeah, and your mother got a job, I guess. Yeah, like kind of over the preschool or something like that.
Yeah, Dad was working at the airport, working for Eastern. Mom got a job at the preschool first, I believe.
Right.
Yeah, 3rd grade. Right. And, so she started, I guess that's part of the reason we moved to the South Side. Commute to the airport was good. We lived in...
Probably at that time, especially less traffic, right?
A lot less traffic.
Right. Now there's anybody listening to this now that lives on the South Side to be like, you guys ruined it.
Yep, pretty much.
We were first. You guys ruined it.
You joined us.
Right.
We were there.
Right.
Yeah, moved down from DeKalb and moved there. So it was into 3rd grade, I think middle school year, maybe.
Right.
I feel like I met you probably in 4th, if I had to guess. Okay. Or maybe the end of 3rd. Maybe summer.
Yeah, it was something like that, and I've told it, again, I've said this before, nobody remembers it, we're a $10 podcast, nobody listens to us, but I've said it before, I had a guy named Scott, no issues with Scott, haven't seen him, we could have been best
Your
friends.
first boyfriend.
My first boy.
Yeah.
My
That was
first
a friend.
bro.
Yeah.
My first and friend. Yes. So he no, he was my first. I remember. Mom tells a story all the time. Of course, I don't remember this, but my mom tells a story all the time that I got, after church and Wednesday nights, or because those were the days too where you were there Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday, sometimes Thursday visitation,
some kind of other event.
I mean,
during the week.
I mean, I felt like I spent my life at the church, out of school, and some home. But especially in those early, like elementary stages, I just remember
there's something to do
they had a basketball gym and all. So every day I'd come home and talk about like Scott, and there, it was a small kind of guys, young guys group. I say young guys. I mean, we were kids.
Yeah,
we were kids. And then one day I came home and I was like, I've got a new best friend, and it's Joey. Which is what you went by.
Until I was 30, I was really Joey. And still Joey to a lot of people. And that's okay.
Right. Well, you stumped me because, like, fast forward all these years later, I said, hey, man, I need a VP at our sanitation company, and it was growing, and I trusted you, and I saw the work you were doing. I actually interviewed to be fair, I interviewed like 3 or 4 other managers.
Good decision. I was picked 4. You interviewed 3, so I must have been
They
picked
all
4.
said no.
Yeah.
They all said no, and I went
There
back
you go.
to you. No, it was great. But I remember you came in, you go, by the way, I really want to be known as Joe. And I respected your wish then. And I guess that was like the transition, because you had gone through life Joey, and I guess you just never felt like at some point you've just
I left.
You didn't want to be a baby kangaroo.
No. I was leaving Delta at the time when I had just turned 30, give or take. And so all the jobs that I was coming up were all management level and higher level jobs. And Joey just felt everybody I was managing was older than me. So
no offense to Joeys out there that are managers, by the way.
None at all. And in fact, I think your wife had the toughest time with that transition, because she started calling me Joey.
Well, that's because you're Facebook.
Fair enough. Okay.
Did you ever change that on Facebook?
Yeah, I did.
Because forever it was Joe, and then you'd put Joey so that people would know who you were, I guess. And so then it was like one of those things, somehow it downloaded into our phones.
So now it comes up as the contact.
You are Joey right now in my phone.
Okay, fair enough then. Then she was actually accurate in calling me that, which was fine.
Yes.
I really don't mind. People call the office now and they'll say, hey, is Joey there? And
well, then you've known them forever.
My office manager goes, hey, one of your old buddies called.
That's exactly how she knows, right?
Figured. Yeah, she
Joey's
knows.
there. They know.
Yep, she knows.
Right. But what do you think is the number? I mean, at this point, you have lived, I mean, you're rolling in on 50.
Not there yet.
No, I'm right behind you, brother. I'm only a few months behind you. My birthday's coming up. By the time this airs, I may have actually had my birthday.
That's right. Back to your elders.
But yes, sir.
Even if it's only a month.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
A couple months, yeah.
But I mean, it's like, you're rolling on 50. Is that is 30? It's 20 years. So you've almost spent as much time as Joe in your life as you have Joe.
I'd say more people know me as Joe now.
Right.
Just by the nature of
business and your audience expansion of your brokerage in McDonough.
Yep.
People may or may not know that Chapman Group Realty will flash it up, because we get people from all the metropolises. But Chapman Group Realty and Joe's got a great brokerage there, and you've got a number. How many agents do you have now?
We've got 13 that are active, blowing and going.
But you do some really great deals for folks to park their license too.
And we have a holding brokerage where if you're not actively selling, but you need to keep your license active, and you refer money, and they leverage their license because
they did all the testing, they got it all done. If you can leverage something and say, hey, give me a referral on it, or cut me in a little bit, you're on a holding.
Maybe they're
license.
Transitioning, maybe they're stay-at-home moms for a little bit, whatever they're doing, and they're not actively selling, and they don't have to pay the same fee.
Well, it's an easy thing to just hold it. Here's a little bit to hold it, and then you allow them to
or transition back into the full brokerage,
or get into it,
or sit there and just collect commissions on their license. So
well, everybody's got a sibling or a mom or a dad or a best friend that's buying a home. You're like, hey, I'll refer you to some great agents.
Or you got some land,
and you're not doing anything.
No.
So there you go.
Well. Yeah, it's a good setup.
That's smart.
It's
that's
win-win.
super smart. It's a win-win. Super smart.
It's very, very, very becoming a little more common because it makes sense.
Traditionally, people would just you let your license lapse.
Yeah, you lapse, or you just keep paying fees, and you look up one day and you spend all this money and you hadn't done anything.
Yeah,
and really, you're better off maybe giving it to someone that's in the business.
We were just talking about that. Like you want to turn it on because your mom's going to buy a house,
right?
But if you haven't shown a home in 5 years, you may not know what you're dealing with.
Yeah, you might want to help your mom by helping her with a professional.
We just had Cindy Cole on not too long ago, and she said one of the biggest mistakes she sees is people not knowing their area and their clientele. And she said, you wouldn't believe how many times she has a house on the bay, and people are like, well, they're buying a 66-foot boat. And she's like, this bay is only like 2 feet deep here. I mean, you have deeper spots, but like there's only like 3 marinas that you could get a 5-foot draft boat in, and that's because they most likely dredged it. But
it's a disservice to your
exactly right.
God forbid your mom.
Right.
But I mean, can you imagine?
Well, she said she had a whole neighborhood that they built that was really it's a rental neighborhood. Right? It's beds and heads and a little pool. Beautiful deals. About $2 million units right there on 30A. Yeah. And the agent come in, they go, well, what's the feedback? How'd it go? Well, it's just not great for their full-time residents. And she's like, did you not scout this out? It's never been designed for that, you know? And so agents not understanding, like you said, it's doing a disservice to your...
You need to know your market.
And if you're out of it for 5 years, I mean, you're doing a disservice to your mom by giving subpar
and it
advice.
Changes. The market changes. The law changes. In Georgia alone, they change all the forms every 6 months now.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're not up to date, you're really doing a disservice to, God forbid, like I said, your mom, your family, whoever.
Right. You should definitely do that. But no, you've got a great service. Chapman Group Realty. They should go and check you out. You're right there off the square in McDonough. You cover like pretty much everywhere Metro Atlanta. I know you do.
We don't get too far down to Macon, but pretty much if it's within that 10-county radius.
I can promise you, if you got a nice property in Macon, he'll
we'll figure it out.
They'll figure it out.
Or we'll refer.
Yeah.
Refer out of your market.
Make sure it's right. That's right.
Yo. TruNorth Pest Control. They are all over Central Florida, Georgia, and they just moved here to the Emerald Coast. I just switched my service over to them. You got to check them out. Tell them JB sent you. They'll take care of you. We are a bug-free podcast because of them. TruNorth Pest Control. Now back to the show.
But at any rate, man, so we've known each other forever. I can remember some great stories. We just had some incredible times together, and I wanted to talk to you about that, just kind of go over what it means to be a friend, because you and I both have a lot of people we know. I know a ton of people in life. I mean, I do. And I come across these people, and I play poker with some incredible guys that I would consider, certainly not just acquaintances and folks that are that way. But we know so many people, and you want everybody to feel like you're a really good friend to them. Yeah. But I have only a handful of people, and I mean, and when I say handful, I mean I can number them. Yeah. On one hand, you know, that I can say are people that I know. I know about their life, and I want them at every life event that I have going on for me. I just a small group of folks that I really care about their opinion and what they say and their counsel and when I have something tough, those are the people I go to, and you are one of them.
Well, I mean,
again, I've got a handful, only a few.
Well, we've been through a lot.
We have.
Yeah. We'll
Third grade.
Much time. Yeah. At some point, you're going to pass some good and some bad.
That's right. What I love about it is we've lived close together. We've worked very close together. Yeah. But then we now are in a season where we don't live close together, but we still have.
Yeah, make an effort.
Text. We do. We make an effort. We're a little bit more intentional about things. But we always pick up wherever we left off. Yeah, that's the great. Like when we are able to be in each other's physical presence, we always pick up where we left off.
Yeah, and that's a sign.
Yes, it is.
You don't do that to everybody.
No,
there's nothing wrong with having lots of friends.
Well, I think that's something that you got to be careful about, because you've got to it's almost like an interview process. It's a life interview process to say, I'm going to give you some of my darkest moments, my happiest moments. My biggest trials in life, and we're going to talk about it.
We're going to reciprocate.
And but I know that if I share that with you, then that is in a vault, and that I know that you have my best interest at heart, and I have yours. And my desire for you is to have the best life possible, right? And your girls to be healthy, and your wife to be healthy, and your mom and the extended families to be healthy.
And cheer for each other's success.
Cheers for the successes, right?
Yeah, and I think that's...
We all have those friends that secretly revel in the fact that something went wrong in your life.
Again. I fell on his face again.
Golly, man. Yeah. I feel like even in our company, when we were running our company, we both know who we're talking about. Yeah, there are folks that were... they're
not happy.
Generally, I think, excited if something went wrong in the day.
Absolutely.
And you were the one that was in charge of it.
Not everybody's cheering for you.
Not everybody's cheering for you.
I tell a lot of agents that we talk about business building and their Facebook social media list of 2,000 friends. And I said, are they really your friends?
Right.
And it's okay to have a lot of people on there and have people you acquaint with. Mm-hmm. But, a lot of times there's people, dinging you down. That's just the way it is.
It's strange, though, how it works for you to get to that point that you say, I'm going, this is a lifetime friend. This is a lifetime close, accountable. It's something that just there's no way to.
You can't make old friends. There's no such thing.
You can't make old friends.
I look at it like that.
You can
meet new people, and there are seasons of life where you're closer to people in different times by nature of your kids' sports or your church or your work, whatever it may be. But you can't make old friends. You can make new ones, and you can make some really good new ones, and you should. But you can't ever, it's like experience. There's no substitute for it.
Right.
Same thing in friendship and relationships. No substitute.
No, that's right. No, and
no way to go back and put that in place.
But it also takes time of having mistakes. Like, I mean, there's been times where I've offended you, and maybe likewise.
On the way over here. I mean, it happens often.
It happens, yeah. But you kind of have grace for those, and you go through it. And I mean, I think that's like when we were in college. There were moments I probably didn't do right, or maybe you didn't handle a situation, but we just kind of got through it, And that's when you know that it's like, okay, because it's a meaningful relationship. And I can remember you telling me one time, because he wasn't a close friend to me, but he was a close friend he was a friend of mine.
Sure.
But he was your roommate in college, and he was your friend in high school. And because of that, we became friends.
Sure.
And again, I love Horty. He was an incredible dude.
Incredible guy.
And but he passed away several, was it Valentine's Day? It was
Valentine's weekend.
It was like around
Valentine's Day.
I feel like it could be Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Because I remember you texting me again. Not that he was your roommate. Because of that, I think it wasn't. It's kind of like that friend by association. But I liked him. We did a lot of stuff in college. In college, we spent a lot. Yeah, we did. We did all kind. We got locked into fishing.
A lot of things we won't talk about.
We were locked into the county lake because we didn't. We were fishing till sundown. Didn't realize that they locked you in
before social media and cameras could catch you doing things.
Oh my
that.
gosh! And do you remember the guy that showed up was like? He was like the one police officer that would let us into the bars underage.
Yep. We were fortunate.
And he showed up. And he's like, "Oh my God, you knuckleheads are the ones that had
trespassing on state property."
You just call the local county police, Athens Clarke County Police. And he showed up, had to unlock the gate for us to get out of that park that night. Otherwise, we were camping.
Yeah, we were going to spend
we were ground sleeping.
Yeah. I don't know that we had a
ton of crappie that day.
Yeah, we did.
And we did a big fish fry. Yeah. But they were like quarter size.
Yeah, I think we caught like 50, and it made like an appetizer.
Yeah,
it was terrible.
It was the worst. We were pulling bones out for days.
We were super excited about it though.
We were so excited. We had like your mom's like deep fryer that set on the thing. Oh, it was. I can't even. Like, how did we even?
Deep fryer was about this big.
I know.
And it held all of them.
It was like a crock pot deep fry. It sure did. I totally forgot about it.
I think we through all the fish.
Guts just right now, but
it's just more than half the fish.
Right,
it was gone
and you kind of slurped the fish right off the bone or something. It was so weird.
Yeah, we were proud of those fish.
We were proud of them. Yeah. They were bigger than a quarter. I mean, but I mean, maybe like a half
dollar. Yeah, they were. They were scallions. They were tiny little things.
But you're right. It takes time to make old friends, man. And but Horty, and that was one of them. I remember you saying to me that funeral though, because he was that was so hard on you because he was also one of your, I think close friends.
I met Horty on the south side when I moved down, so maybe fourth, fifth grade, similar time frame that I met you.
Right.
Different circles sometimes because he didn't go to the same church, of course, and we spent like you just said.
Where did he go? Did he go to the Methodist? Was he right next to FBCJ at the Methodist?
No, not that one. I think he went to a different one. But
okay, that's where the cool cats went.
Exactly. Yeah. We crossed paths occasionally, but went to school. Ended up in high school.
Y'all went to Lovejoy High School.
Yeah, he was a year ahead of me.
Right. That's right.
And we just got. And then of course we lived together for a few years, and it was tough. I mean, I had never. I've lost a brother. I've had some losses in the life.
I know. I want to cover a few of those things, but we'll go as deep as you want.
Horty was tough. I mean, because it was. I'd spent more time with him, like you just mentioned.
Well, that's what I mean. When you think of those close people, and you've got a handful of them too, and when you think of those close people, he was in one of your he was in your close circle.
Yeah, the type of friend, like you said, that you just pick up with.
Exactly right.
Like
exactly
right. 25 years ago.
And if you wanted him at all your big dates, and he wanted you at all his big dates,
just a solid guy. And it was tough. It was probably the. Like I said, losing my brother was tough. Losing my dad was tough. He's different tough because it was a friend.
They're all different.
Yeah,
they're all little different reasons, but for sure. But nonetheless, tough.
Tough. Yeah.
I think we got on the phone and was like, all right, look, neither one of us don't die right now.
Yeah.
Like we really enjoy each other's relationships.
Yeah,
I can't handle you as well right now.
No, did not. Yeah, and it flashes like who are the people if that happens to
that's right.
going to gut
They're going to really gut you. And I remember that we talked a little bit about that, and it was like, okay. I was like, look, I'm gonna try to walk a straight line right now for you because I know you're having a hard time.
Ooh, yeah, it was tough.
Because that was a tough one.
I had to speak at the funeral, and I remember my wife Kristen saying, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
Because I was literally in a bad
place. Did you speak at your dad and brothers as well?
I did.
You did at your brother's. I was at your brother's funeral.
Spoke at my dad's. But it was a train. You know, my dad had passed April.
Yeah.
So we were.
Oh, and then it was like the next February. So not even a year.
Not even a year. It was just a constant. And I'm like, I got to stop going to funerals. You know,
man. Honestly, I have a hard time going to funerals.
Actually, my dad passed after Jamie because he came to the funeral.
No, you're right.
He passed in April. So I went from February to April. So you went from February losing
Jamie, and then your dad. So just over a year, your dad passed.
No, that same year. So Jamie passed February 14th. My dad passed in April.
Only a month later? I guess I didn't even realize
2 months.
that.
I was down here.
Yeah, I know you were.
Yeah.
I know. Well, it's crazy. I've been with you at some incredible spots.
Of course, you remember Jamie.
Since we're kind of in this moment, I mean, I do remember that, and I don't remember them being that close, but I remember you were on this golf trip, and you were doing the same thing where the golf trip ended, and you came over to my home. We were living in Sandestin at the time, and so I might even picked you up because y'all played like the Raven or something like that, and I might even picked you up, taking you back to the house or whatever, because you were going to fly home. You didn't even have your car.
No, that's right.
And then
my bag or anything. We were just going to go eat, I think.
You know, oh my gosh, Joe, that's exactly right.
We're just going to go eat.
You were. I don't even think you did the whole golf tournament that because it was on the front end. It was like the Thursday, and you and I were just going to have lunch, and I was going to then take you to connect back up with those guys.
Yep.
Because I think I was going on a trip. That's what it was.
Yeah.
I had a trip that weekend I was leaving for, so you came on the front end.
Yep. It was Thursday.
Like the viewers needed all of this coordination.
There's the background.
there's how we got there. So.
But you did pick me up, and that was the conversation.
I did, and we had some lunch together, and incredible, of course, just like this.
Yeah.
We picked up where we left off. We're talking, and on the way back to my house, Kristen called you.
Yeah. Got the call and was like, "Hey, you're not going to believe this. You know, your dad's gone." I'm like,
I remember that on the golf cart, on the way back.
You know, like anything else, you're just like, no.
And I hear the call on my side. I'm hearing you just saying, no. And I'm having flashbacks to when you and I were together. When your brother passed.
Yeah.
And you may even be having them.
I remember. We were at Legal Seafoods.
Right.
Right there at the...
Celebrating my birthday.
Yeah, that's right.
And you got a call, which I want to talk about this story, but your dad, though, was tough that time, though, because I remember then your bag, we had to go pick up your bag from your guys, because it's like, you couldn't even get a flight right then, which I was willing to drive you back up, but... I know it was just like you just needed to be with a friend.
Yeah. No, it was...
And we just sat there and we just talked and reminisced and...
All night.
With your dad, all night.
Yeah.
All night.
Yeah.
All night. And then I drove you to the airport. The first flight out the next morning.
Yeah.
And then I guess with your mom. I mean, you probably went pretty quick.
Went straight
with
there.
Your mom.
I think they picked me up. If I remember correctly, went straight. I went to the house first.
How old was your dad?
77.
77.
Yep. Just ran 5-6 miles that week. One of the more healthy people.
Right. You just never know.
Yeah. Never know. I mean, he
ran the Peachtree like that year.
The next year, the year prior to that, I ran it that year. I took his number and ran it.
After he passed. But I'm saying that year, he fasted in April. I'm just saying that year
at 76, he ran
it would have been, it's a July 4th race, right? Yeah. So he would have run it just, that July of the prior year at 76.
Yeah.
Which is a 10K. So we're talking like, 6.2 miles or something.
You've been to Peachtree before.
I have.
It's a hilly. That's not an easy run. It's fun.
Well, and they also they fake you out because there's a turn at the end that you feel like you're. The first time you do it, you feel like you're almost done.
Yeah.
And it is a lot further than what you think.
Yep.
So it definitely fakes you out. But the run's a nice run down Peachtree,
it's fun.
And they have rock and roll on there and all that. The only thing I would have preferred, I do think, because everybody does this, and they buy they buy a number from somebody, right? Yep. Or somebody's not going to go. And I mean, to technically qualify for the Peachtree, you should be running so many races.
Get a little chip,
and then they put you in a grouping based on your right. But what happens is you get the guy that's like his first race in 10 years that's running in a grouping that should
somebody's
be
number.
Yeah. And so I feel like the first 2 miles, I feel like you're dodging.
Run shuffle.
It's run shuffle.
Yeah.
And then you get into stride. So that's the only downside, I'd say, on Peachtree race. because it's a lot
It
of
might be
people.
the largest outdoor race that's not a marathon.
Now, if it's your first race you've ever done and you're not going to run shuffle and you don't care about running fast, you'll love it.
Yeah.
It'll be great because they have concerts all along the roadway,
people partying,
having a good time. So it is a
music
really
everywhere.
Right, that's what I mean. It's a really fun race.
You should do it one time.
When you ran that, was that your first time running it?
Yeah.
So to honor your dad,
Honor
you
my
ran
dad.
it. You took his number, ran it.
Yep. I said, you know what, I'm going to. I
What
wasn't
did you
really
do during
in
the
running shape, but I said, I'm going to do it.
Right, but how did that work? Like emotionally, how did that work?
It was tough. Kristen and my dad used to run it together.
Oh, that's awesome.
Probably a good 10 years or so, give or take.
That's
they would run
great.
it, and it was kind of their thing. And they would always joke about me. I said, I'll see you at the finish line with a beer or something. I'm not running it. I'm just not going to do it. You know?
Great finish, too.
Now, I have run
park.
long races before, but not really around this timeline. I said,
It's
all right,
July
I'm gonna do it.
4th. You just kind of want to have a hot dog and hamburger and grill out.
And I knew about that number. You know, it was just something about being at my dad, parents' house. And I remember I was going to go to waste. I said, no, I'm going to do it.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
I think he'd appreciate that.
Did you train at all?
No.
Just straight?
Just went
I
out
mean,
there.
it's 6.2. You're in decent shape.
Yeah,
you
I
work out.
I can run a 6.2, but that's a different kind of
It's
run
a
when
different
it's
run,
plus
bro.
the emotional heavy on.
What did you feel moments? Did you feel like there were times you were talking to him? Do you feel like there were times you were
Yeah, I was
praying?
kinda
Do you feel like you were
capturing,
what are the moments that stick out for you in that?
The physical side wasn't the bad part.
I understand.
It was, so about halfway through, I'm like, I'm tired, but I'm really tired of mentally thinking about, my dad.
The loss.
My dad's, all right, let's get over it. Let's move on. Probably a little push down. I do the same thing just as a person. So about halfway through,
Maybe not the healthiest thing to do, but that's how he was.
But
yeah,
it is, who he was and who I am. So get to the end, and it just was like overcome with. I finished this.
Yep.
I'll never do it again.
Yeah.
Because I don't really want to do it again. It was kind of like a one-time thing with his number, and I don't think I ever will. Don't plan to. I actually had someone ask me to do it again. I said, no, I think that one's enough. And got finished.
And it'll be emotional each time too, wouldn't it?
Oh, it definitely would.
Well, right after you, it's like because Danielle's lost her parents, and you were there for us then, and you had to step in for us because her dad was sudden, and then her mom was a long road.
Yeah.
But I just remember it not being real.
Yeah.
Like it didn't feel real. Did you feel like that? That it just wasn't like your dad's gone. And when you think about pillars in your life, I mean, your parents are like pillars in your life.
Yeah, superhero.
They cause all the problems, but all the love, right?
That's right.
You're constantly trying to get rid of the bad juju that you learned. But and again, parents, mom, dad, and I know Joe's mom, man, we love you all, and we get it as parents. I'm messing my kids up too.
Yeah.
So we get it.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing the best they can, but they have such pillars in your life, right? It's all the love, all the acceptance, all the care. And so, I mean, it's just like, did it feel just not real, right?
Yeah, especially for a while, because you just kind of feel like, I'll call my dad real quick. My dad was that guy when you said, hey, I think I'm going to get a new car.
Right.
He'd send you 7 articles about every car and the engines and what it did. And
really?
I'd show up at his house, and he's like the Human Consumer Reports. Remember those?
Yes.
He literally had, if you say get a TV, it doesn't matter what you're buying. He
would talk to you about
what's doing it behind the scenes for you, because he wanted to go, hey, let me tell you about this new Samsung.
I did not. What a cool thing.
Everything. Didn't matter what. I mean, it didn't matter if you were buying a tennis racket. Whatever it was, he had done the research.
Did you find that he was that way in basketball? Because, in sports stuff that you did too?
I think so.
Like, here's a better way to do a jump shot, or here's a better way to think about baseball, or whatever it is?
A little hands off on that. I think it was more like products and things that he knew you were investing in.
Okay.
Or investing or buying, whatever.
Yeah.
He was literally the Human Consumer Report.
You want to make sure you got the best thing.
Yep.
Or you were informed.
Yeah, exactly. And he, old school, so he'd have the magazine art, have the hard copies of things. I
just remember your dad being like, the story I remember, of course, is the Eastern story. That he was working at Eastern forever. Yeah. They had Eastern Airlines, for those young folks out there listening, that's not around anymore. Yeah. But it was a massive player along the lines of Delta. Yeah. I mean, it was a massive player, and then they just had some stumbles in business that happened. Yeah. Over leveraged, under the revenue. Yeah. And
it was
just a bad deal. Yeah. The debt came calling, and they crashed. They went completely under. And I mean, there's no Eastern today. Record time. Yeah. And I mean, people were let go in large swaths. Yeah. Just no job. And the airlines were struggling in general too. So that wasn't like there was another job up. No. And he was in the maintenance mechanic
in a ramp under tech ops, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just remember him doing whatever job he could do to make sure that you guys had everything you needed.
He did.
And I'm cleaning oil tankers, and he did crazy stuff. Yeah, he did crazy stuff to make sure that you guys had all your needs met.
Yep. Went to school at night.
Yeah.
Went to school at night
to learn more, to get recertified,
to
or whatever,
get an A&P license, so he could actually be a mechanic. And
right.
I remember thinking,
because he got hired at Delta and then had a long career with Delta.
Yeah, after that, because I remember talking to my mom and going, "Why is Dad in school?
Yeah,
nobody's going to hire a 30-something-year-old."
Wow.
And I remember having it and doubting my dad.
Today, you would never do that.
Nope.
Today, if you're 30 or 40, you can start in time. Look, I'm a podcaster, almost 50.
People are starting things whenever they want.
Yeah.
Now. But back then, you didn't do that.
Right.
But he did. He went to school at night, and like you said, he cleaned tanker trucks. He got chemicals spilled on him. It was bad. Just a terrible job per se.
He also had amazing patience.
Yeah, he did.
I felt like we were hooligans.
Oh, terrible. Yeah, really just bad kids. Not bad.
Not bad kids.
Not bad foundation, but just not real.
Well behaved. I always felt that way, and then I ran into Larry Lawrence at like a Chick-fil-A one time, and I said, "Man, I just want to apologize if we, caused a ruckus when we caused ruckuses." And he looked at me, he's like, "You guys are a cakewalk compared to what's now."
Well, I think of the things that we did that before, like these kids do have a tough time because. By the way,
Larry, sorry to interrupt. Larry Lawrence was our youth pastor. Yeah. I should tell the audience that. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying how these kids today, their lives are on display, and everybody's got a phone and video and things, and we did a lot of things that weren't captured, and probably for good reason because we'd be in trouble.
Oh my gosh, I know.
You just think of it was a different time like anything else. That sounds old, but that's just the way it was.
I can remember one of your spend the night parties, and we were running down a hill, and we all heard like the Hummies, which those were like the gang in the woods. And
like
really, it was teenagers smoking cigarettes or something, but they come running out at you. But back then,
they'll kill you.
Hummies were like, and we probably just watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre and walked the neighborhood, and then the Hummies were coming out of the woods. And I remember taking off. We all took off, and remember
Mike Burt.
Was it Mike Burt or Matt Mike? Because there's one guy that had like 2 days.
Well, Matt Mike might have been there, but it was Mike Burt that ran up your back.
He ran up my back, and I fell into face first, into I think the grass, but my bottom teeth went through my gums.
Yeah,
and popped right back out. But I'm bleeding everywhere. And your mother kind of took care of me, got ice on
it.
She
knew we were out at that time, but.
Was somebody? I know she had to take care of me. I don't know. Maybe I just kept my mouth shut. Stitches get snitches get stitches or whatever, right?
Don't say anything.
But I can remember we went into church the next day, and we were in like middle school or whatever. But it was donut day at church, and I could not open my mouth. It was so bad,
bloody donut.
And it was one of those things too, like right here. Of course, now I have this beard, but it was like I had these, and I didn't get stitches or anything, so it just scabbed up. But I didn't. I don't know. I guess I was so vain or whatever. And my mother was like, "Don't touch your scab. You'll leave a scar." So I just forever it would itch, and I just gum it, trying to not have it take off. Right, just not have it fall off. But that was always a story. We had some great stories there for sure. They were so. Your parents were so, like I said, so patient. And then your brothers. I mean, your brothers were great. Old Joel. Great, but Jay, your middle brother, passed. Like you said, it was around my birthday. We were at Legal Seafood, and growing up, your brothers were always around.
Yeah, always.
And we could always get Jay and Joel get them fighting, and that was always fun. I know your parents, so I just want to apologize to Janet that. For all the times that I got Joel and Jay fighting in the car.
Good stuff. They called you Jason Becker.
They did.
Full name.
Jason Becker. Every time Joel would be like, Jason Becker. Jason Becker said to do it. Yeah. I know.
Yeah, they had some good fights. That's for sure.
I would have loved to know those conversations that your mom and dad would be like, that's Jason Becker. If he won't stop it. But yeah, but some great times. But we were at Legal Seafood. Your parents were watching your girls. Yep. I think we probably had a sitter, maybe Danielle's parents or somebody watching ours. And we had that limo at the time, and we took the limo in to Legal Seafood in downtown Atlanta. A great spot. Their crab cakes are amazing crab cakes. But we're just sitting there, and this is kind of before, I guess you had a cell phone? I mean, you had to have a cell phone. You were working with us. You certainly had a cell phone.
Maybe a Nextel? Probably a Nextel.
Maybe.
I think so.
But your parents, for whatever reason, maybe you had the phone off, maybe it was in the limo, maybe it wasn't there. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Like now, you would have gotten a text or phone call directly to you.
Sure. Yeah. I don't remember how that transpired.
I remember they called, because you certainly got on a cell phone by the bathroom, but they called Legal Seafood.
Yeah, that's right, because the waiter came.
And the waiter, somebody came and said, "Are you Judge?" Like, and the reservation was under my name, so I don't even know how it got there. You know what? He probably said they're with the Becker party. Now that I'm thinking about it, and they came and got you to say your dad was on the phone.
Yeah,
and he needed you to call him.
And I took the call, and I remember going out to
it's like the bathroom area
back when they had payphones.
That's right,
kind of near the bathroom.
That's right.
And I remember just, they think he didn't make it, and I was like, no.
I remember we all eventually get up from the table, but your wife goes over there.
And we were calling the hospitals.
I remember you were calling frantically. She was calling hospitals. You were calling hospitals.
Some kind of confirmation of what's going on.
We're like over by the bathroom praying over you, praying for your brother, praying for your family. And I will never forget that for the rest of my life when you finally got a hold of his
one of his friends,
close friend.
Yeah, it was Jeremy.
And he just said,
Jay didn't make it.
Jay's
he's gone. He said, I was there. He's gone.
And I remember
that was the finality of that.
Everybody was. It felt like forever. It might have been 10 or 15 minutes of calling every hospital in Louisiana.
Yep.
Like Shreveport and all that, like all those areas leading down.
And they weren't real forthcoming with information.
He was on his headed to his bachelor party.
Yeah, going down as
to New Orleans, right?
Yeah, it was about a month before.
He was said to be getting married.
July 4th, matter of fact.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it wasn't Memorial Day weekend. It was the weekend before that.
Right. Well, I'm May 19th birthday, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's where they were going.
Yep.
And they were actually he was a teacher, so it was him and another teacher that couldn't leave because of the break or whatever. And so they were going down separate than the rest of the crowd. They're going for a couple guys.
Coming down a highway.
Crested
a hill where an older gentleman entered that same interstate or highway.
Slaughter, Louisiana.
And he was headed... Like if they were headed south, he was headed north, but in the southbound lane.
That's exactly right.
He thinks he's in the slow lane. He's in the fast lane. They're cresting the hill. Both of them doing somewhere in the neighborhood of 60
they were,
plus miles per hour
it was a highway.
On head-on collision.
Yep. Head-on and coming the wrong way.
That's insane, man.
Yeah, hit him, and the driver survived. Mm-hmm. One of my brother's friends,
right,
fraternity brothers, and Jay was in
the airbag or whatnot. I don't know what happened.
Off. There was
that's crazy.
Yes, he didn't have a seatbelt on, which was not good.
Right. Sleeping at night.
It wasn't that late because we were at dinner, so it was only like 7 or 8 p.m.
You know what? You're right. I haven't even thought about that.
And the timeline probably put them closer to maybe.
Well, they were an hour. They're Central Time, so you're right.
Let's call it 6 or 7.
Probably 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
6 o'clock. Yeah.
They probably left after school 3 o'clock, so they're probably 3 or 4 hours down the road.
Yeah.
And and what I understood from Jeremy Dale, and I still see him once a year pretty much. But anyway, he said, he died right there. He was gone. There was no
instant, no pain, no suffering, which is a little bit of a comfort, I guess. A little bit of
comfort, yeah. But it was it was a chilling call.
And you and Jay were close,
very close. Yeah,
you guys. You guys are all like because there's 3 of you. You're kind of like my kids in the sense that y'all are just a few years apart.
Yeah.
As you and your youngest, the young, like 4 is Joel.
Yeah, Jay
4?
and I were 5 years apart. Joel and I are now 8, but they were...
Okay, so you were 5 from Jay.
5 from Jay. Jay and Joel were 3.
3. Okay, okay. So our kids are like 2.
Give or take, yeah.
So your kids are like 2.
Yep.
Well,
the
2, and then Mabry is a little bit further apart.
Kind of that same gap total, but yeah. So,
hey y'all, new customer of TruNorth Pest Control here on the Emerald Coast, Central Florida, Georgia. You got to check them out.
Yeah, they get rid of all the unwanted pests in your house, including termites and mosquitoes. Tell them the Jabroni sent you. Back to the show.
But you and Jay were
good.
Well, you and Jay were the only ones around for a few years.
Yeah, well, and when Jay was teaching at South Cobb High.
Yeah.
So we were both in the working world and had a different relationship than Joel because he was still in school at the time. So but yeah, very close, and it was just like you said, it was never forget those calls.
And it's just tough.
We took off. You stayed.
Well, I did.
They took us home and came back.
The thing I remember is the finality of finally, like, frantically doing it, and there was hope.
Yeah.
Like, while we're praying,
we didn't know. We just
and everybody's going on, it's a frantic, but there's hope.
Yep.
There's hope. And then he's he's gone. And I can remember you dropping the phone. And you looked back over your shoulder at me, and then, really at all of us.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, that's it.
Yep. There's nothing.
He's gone. There's nothing I can do. And it was a very much like on your face is like, well, that's it.
Yeah.
He's gone.
Well, you want that phone call to say, okay, we're
right.
Right.
It's it's crazy. You're right. We sent the limo back. He grabbed you so that you could be with your girls and your parents. And then, quite frankly, we knew we would have come. I think you needed to be alone. You needed to be alone and collect your thoughts.
Rough ride home.
Right.
It was just, I needed to get to see my family.
We were ready to go because and we had other people meeting us. Remember, there was a whole nother group of people coming up to meet us later. So I think we were trying to figure that out.
Being at dinner or on the way?
I don't know. I think they might have been.
I don't even remember ordering.
I think we had appetizers. I think it was very close.
Pretty quick, yeah.
Very close. Yeah. In fact, when your dad passed away, we kind of jokingly were like, we need to stop getting together because somebody important is passing away every time.
Right.
Like, we've been together a lot, so more times we've been together. But it has been weird where we've been together and somebody major in our life has passed away. But that's just part and parcel to being really good friends and wanting to be around somebody. But that grief is so enormous, and whereas you have lost a brother and you have lost a father, and Joel has lost a brother and Joel has lost a father, your mother has lost a son and a husband. And how do you think your mom? Do you talk at all about that sort of thing?
Yeah, we talk about it.
Good.
My dad didn't talk about it much when Jay passed. He was every once in a while we'd have a conversation about Jay loved the Braves or things like that, but not.
He didn't have a lot dive into it.
No,
okay.
No. My mom loves still talking about Jay.
Well, she's a writer too.
Yeah, she's a writer, and she expresses her feelings differently. But we talk about it. We talk about my dad and the funny things he do and things he didn't do and things like that. So,
what do you think are the things that in retrospect of her grief, what are the things that hit her the most in maybe the loss? Has she worked through a season where she's having?
Yeah, I think.
Like, does it hit her hard and sad, or does it hit her hard in happiness, or a little bit of both?
I think a little bit of both. She generally is pretty happy. I'm proud of the way she's overcome. It's there. I mean, it's not like it's a dismissal thing, but pretty quickly you've done things the same way for a long time, and everything changes.
Yeah.
So I think she misses obviously him, but I think she misses some of that, the daily back, just the grind, I guess, the back and forth. And then when she relocated, which helped. She knew pretty quickly she didn't want to stay in the same house.
Change of setting.
And
has she found people down there?
Yeah,
she's got a group of good.
Yeah, it's a good group. We went and visited a couple weeks ago, and
she's on the other coast of Florida.
Yeah, she's over in Palm Coast area.
That's right.
So she and she loves it.
Yeah.
She moved right at about a year, so she stayed in the house not quite a year. We rehabbed the whole house.
That's always a good thing, right? You don't want to make any sudden changes right away. Yeah,
she knew pretty quickly. She said, "I don't want to stay here, for reminders, but also, she was a little bit younger than my father, so they had always talked about, moving down and
yeah. So that was always a dream.
Yeah, and she said, I'm not getting any younger. He would want this, and I want this, and but I'm not going to make a rash decision, and we didn't. We went down there and shopped for condos and. It ended up buying the one she loved, and it worked out perfect. It really did.
So she had a good agent then?
Yeah, she had a solid agent. Yeah, no doubt about that. Yeah, took care of her. Yeah. No, she was, but it was a good
6% interest still. I mean, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
You can't change these rules.
No. You got to charge your parents, right?
I mean, fair's
fair.
They
want to pay you.
Fair's fair.
Yeah, that's right. No, but I think it's a good thing. She's down there in a place where both my brother and father loved, and so in being there, in a lot of ways, they're able to, just.
Does she?
It's a special place for her.
And I know you are people of faith. Like I said, your family's people of faith, and First Baptist Church, Jonesboro. Does she express, I mean, I know it's not a morbid thought. If people of faith, I think you might understand it. If you're outside of faith, you're not going to get this. But does she long for the day that she gets to see your brother Jay and your dad again?
I think so, and I think she knows it's there at some point. She's not getting any,
eternity's coming.
Eternity's coming, and you don't get younger. Mm-hmm. So usually you don't.
Do you find time? I mean, I think of it sometimes that I can't wait till that day that I get to be in heaven and I get to see. And there's people like David and Lisa were just such strong people to me, and I mean, it doesn't even. It's impossible for me to measure how much they meant to me. Mm-hmm. But it's really impossible for me to measure how much they meant to Danielle and Casey. Yeah. And because those were her parents, I mean, I had them for a short time when you think about it.
Yeah. In the grand scheme.
And she had them her whole life. Yeah. And they were her cheerleaders. I mean, they were in her corner, good, bad, or indifferent. Same with Casey. And so but I often think about like, what would David say, or what would he, I often thought about investments, or often thought about parenting decisions where it's like, I would like to know.
Yeah.
And I know my wife has. Like,
Absolutely.
I wish I could ask my mom what she would handle, how she would handle this situation. And so I know those things pop up. So I long for that time to get up there. And of course, in our brains, you think, well, I'm going to get up there and they're going to be like, yeah, look, you were like 60% good in your decisions. Like, I would have done a lot of this.
You might have done that differently.
Right. Of course, I know in heaven, they like this, I think they just know, like, all of these decisions don't even mean anything.
No, it's just little snippets of life that really, I think there's a strong feeling that my mom probably has about, I'm going to see him again. And I, who knows? I don't know what that looks like.
No. Well, we don't know exactly.
Look,
there's well-meaning, intentioned people that would certainly say that they could picture it out and draw it out.
Yeah.
We'll know when we know.
Right.
We'll get
the
there, and I'm sure it'll be amazing.
You feel like you've been in the same place and back to some form of, being around. And that's
my mother tends to feel like that will also have purpose, because growing up, I used to think about like, I'm gonna. Like, there was a time when I was a kid that I wasn't sure I really wanted to go to heaven, but it's only like going to go up there and just sing "Holy, Holy, Holy." I'm like, man, I like doing stuff,
That's right.
I like it, and I do think that there's going to be an incredible appreciation for the grace of God, but my mother tends to think that we will have purpose, that there will be purpose for us in heaven, and I like that idea.
Yeah.
That we won't just be roaming around saying glory, glory to God, which I think I'd be glad to give him his props. Like, I'm here, like I'm here, I'm in. Yeah, that's right. I'm glad to. I'd give him a little fist bump. We're good, man. Yeah, I'm in.
I like to think that. Also, I think of them as happy people there.
Yeah,
I think
do
of
too. But with no pain,
gives me some solitude,
no suffering.
None of the
anxiety, mental health, all of these other things. When you think of perfection, I mean, just an equilibrium that allows us to blend in with everyone seamlessly, which is not what happens. The rhythms here on this earth are pretty erratic.
And they're getting worse.
They're getting more polarizing.
That's for sure.
That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm interested in those things, and I'm grateful for a place like that, for those that have gone before us, to know that. Yeah. To know that peace right now, to know that comfort, to know that fullness, to be fully known.
Probably Danielle would say the same thing. It makes you feel good that that's there for them.
100%.
As opposed to going,
even it's there for me. Yeah. I'm glad it's there for them.
They get to experience it first.
Yeah, and it's such a platitude that we say when somebody passes, well, they're in a better place. Yeah. But I mean, yes, I do get it. It's not really the right thing to say.
Yeah, what do you say?
Right then, there's probably not anything to say, right?
No, I mean, just being there.
Have you felt like has that been something that you've experienced, or maybe your mother's experienced in your conversations you had, or even your brother Joel, where people have said things that you've been like, that didn't land well?
Yeah,
it is one of those things sometimes we don't do well.
Yeah, not to double down on losses, but we lost a child, and that was a very tough time, and people would say, we had a stillborn, which is not the same thing as a miscarriage. But a lot of times people would say, oh yeah,
it
my wife
happens
had
all the
2 couple
time.
miscarriages. I'm like,
right.
Yeah, you didn't go to the hospital and bring him a plant.
Right.
There's a difference.
There's a difference,
and it's not the same.
Yeah.
You get past it because you don't know what to say. What do you say?
Good grief! I was there when that happened.
You gotta stay away,
I was
man.
there. I know. I was there when that happened too, and oh man. And you're right, and the thing I would say the biggest thing too is we all feel like if we've gone through grief, and even today I've been telling you about Dave and Lisa and sharing that grief with you, but not in a way to compare.
No,
but that's what we do. Like I've experienced the same thing that you've experienced. That is not true. You have not experienced
and we respond to grief differently.
We all do, 100%.
Because we're all individually made up
100%.
People, and that's okay. Right. I don't get offended by it. It's like the first thing you can say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But like you said, I've been around you quite a few times during grief, and I've been around your wife, and sometimes it's just a hug and a smile and just a simple, I'm here.
It's just being there.
Yeah, and I don't need you to fix you can't.
Hey, you can't. Like you say, you can't create old friends.
No, you
and when
can't.
you get that rhythm with that closeness, you almost just know.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't remember ever telling you this is what you shouldn't say or say. You were just there. And you were either in the background if you needed to be in the background, or you were right beside us if you needed to be right beside us. Yeah. And it just was.
Well, I remember the call when you called me about David.
Yeah.
I just was like...
On the way to the hospital, I was like, dude, he didn't make it.
David was larger than life. It was like, 100%. It just did. I remember...
he's not there.
Yeah. It was just and you don't know...
Well, y'all were there. Y'all were right at our house. And we had actually been in a season where we hadn't been talking as much then.
Yeah.
And you were like right there.
Yeah. And like you said, sometimes it's just being there. It's not really an exact... You're not going to cure the person's thoughts at the time or their feelings.
No.
But being there, is important, and remembering that and just actually saying, okay, that person was there.
That's the hardest thing to figure it out. But I do think when you're old friends, you just know. I know what you need, and I know you'll get through it, and I know you need to say whatever it is and be there.
Yep.
I just need to just stand there. We've had some other moments in life that way. One of the things that I think back to, and I don't know that we've ever talked about this publicly, but it's a safe story. So just so you know, it's a safe story. We've got lots of stories. We can edit this, so nothing's live. But I think back to when we were in high school, and I'm pretty sure it's high school, and we were doing the Marcy Creech had the you remember the camp counselor thing we did? We did like every summer.
Yep.
We did the camp counselor. That was the best job in the world.
Play basketball,
It
kickball.
is impossible to tell. Like, FBCJ really was impressionable on our lives.
And a lot of people.
In a lot of people's lives. They really did.
Really
I mean,
impact.
look, don't get ahead of yourselves. You still go to FBCJ. I'm sure y'all do a lot of bad stuff. but I mean, it was definitely really important part of our life.
It was.
And while there's some parts of grace that I feel like I've leaned into more and learned more of as I've gotten older, I don't want to hold anything against them because I learned who Jesus was.
Sure.
But gosh, we had some incredible parts. And I mean, I have to give shout outs to Larry Lawrence as much a hooligan. That guy was speaking every Wednesday night, taking us to camps. We had some incredible times. Sir Mix-a-Lot on the beach we got to see, sneaking out, doing all that stuff.
About that.
Well, he knows about it now. But hey, nobody watches his podcast. Nobody watches a $10 podcast.
Yeah, that's funny.
But I should send him this podcast and be like, Larry, you got to watch this podcast. We go in depth about FBCJ. But man, Marcy Creech was the children's director, and so she hired us knuckleheads to be camp counselors. And there's like a day camp where they parents would drop their kids off during the summer, just like school.
It's awesome.
At 8 o'clock. And we played kickball, basketball, Foursquare. I mean, just all day. The kids have lunch.
Capture the flag. All these games.
Incredible games. It was so much fun. But and then 1 week out of that summer, we would go, and Marcy had her kids' camp, where now you would have other kids that weren't just at day camp. Now there were kids that were just involved in the church that maybe their parents had their own taken care of. They didn't need day camp, right?
Almost like camp away.
But this was camp away.
Yeah.
Cabins. They had a real musician
4-H camp or something.
Honestly, I wish I knew the name of it. They did. And we had everything there. There was a massive pool there. Yeah. There was, and we were then a counselor. So we were kind of committed to having to be at that camp as well. And we'd have a group of boys that we would have in our
we were responsible
cabin.
For,
which is crazy,
really
absolutely insane. We just learned to drive.
Yeah.
So I mean, how in the world were we responsible for these kids? But we would take them and then remember they'd have songs like "Jesus is the Rock," and roll it. You remember you do your hands and all this motion, and we would have all these songs that were like Michael W. Smith was a heavy player on it, like "Go East, Young Man" or "Go West, Young Man" or whatever the songs were. We had all these songs that we would sing in church. Or in the little auditorium they'd have. And we play all the games, so much fun. And I don't know, I know you know what I'm going to tell you about, but late one night, I think you were on the top bunk and I was on the bottom. And something hit you in your spirit and you like nudged me. And we're like, I don't know if I've ever known Jesus.
Yeah. And then
and I remember saying, and you grew up around church.
You grew up in church.
And honestly, you probably knew, but you just weren't sure of your salvation.
Yeah, and I think as a young person at that stage, probably 15, 16. Well, we're driving. So 16,
I think
whatever.
we were driving. I think we had to have that job.
To
have that job, I think we were driving. We both
grew up in the church, and you always
we have junk cars, but we were both driving.
No AC.
Yeah.
I remember the conversation like it was yesterday almost. It was, I don't think it's unchristian-like or unhuman to not have doubts or questions about things that we don't understand.
I totally remember that. And I remember we kind of like we talked it out. And I was like, what do you mean? You're like, I just don't know, like, if I've ever, like die. I feel like I want to, like, know Jesus better.
Right. And it didn't.
And I don't know if it was this point of salvation, but there was a doubt. There was a lingering doubt. And I remember we talked it out, and we just kind of prayed together, essentially that you wanted to know Jesus more. Yeah. And that was, and I don't think we said a sinner's prayer, but I just remember that was so poignant for us to just kind of.
It was unsurety that
I wanted you to know that my best friend in the world was going to be in heaven with me someday, and I need you to come with me.
Yeah,
you know, and you were not sure if you were going to be coming with me.
Right.
And I was like, dude, I want to pray right now and get this resolved. And you were still having these questions. And I remember it felt like maybe a day later that we really prayed about it.
Yeah, talked about it and
we talked it through.
I don't have all the answers.
Right.
You don't have all the answers, but here is the answer. And I remember that conversation, and it was probably, I'm guessing we were 16.
I think we were 16 years old.
I don't know if we drove.
I think it was about 16.
I feel like
we were on the bus to the camp. But I mean, I know we were driving during that summer to be those day camp counselors.
Yep. And here we were supposed to be watching the kids.
Well, they was late at night. They were all asleep. You kind of nudged me when it was like, I think I had the top bunk or vice versa. Yeah. I just remember you kind of like.
I remember the conversation. Yeah.
I need to. And it was
let's
weird.
talk about
like,
this. Yeah.
I need to talk to you about something. You're like, I'm not certain I know Jesus.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, like we need to talk.
I think it's a common thing for young people.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Through, some church camp, something, and they get excited, and but they don't really necessarily talk through it. And I think that's one of the tough things is, a lot of people back in the day, you have an altar call, everybody walks down to the front, you feel like I got to do this, and you maybe don't really think through it or talk through it.
Well, that's what I was going to talk about, because we work through it, talk through it. And again, young people, if you're out there, get you a friend like Joe, man. I'm telling you, get you a friend like that, but it takes time. Yeah. It takes time, right? Yeah. And because we talked about it, and then that next Sunday we were in church up on the balcony, and I remember kind of looking at me because they always had this major invitation, right? And what was that guy's name? The music minister. He was kind of a heavier set guy. I can see him in this.
Irvin Perry. Yeah.
And he would sing, and he would sing "Just as I Am" without one plea. Yep. And I just talked about that on the last pod, but just as I am, without one plea, and that it's been coming up as I've been preparing for your pod. It's been like in my soul. Mm-hmm. But then it goes on to say, but for you, your blood shed on the cross for me, right? Yeah. And so it's because we're going to stand up there, and I will not have one plea. But for you is my plea. But I remember that song. He said, come down here. And we kind of looked at each other because you were like, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not checking rededication. What I love about your faith, Joe, is that your faith, it's not a showy faith. No. It's not out there in that I'm going to get in. Look, love everybody. If you've got a track in hand, pass the track away. I get it. You need to do it. Yeah. I don't want to tell anybody to not just don't get on the soapbox with the microphone. Like that stuff's old. Nobody likes that. I don't like
don't
it.
Scream at me.
It's not working. It's not working. You're not motivating anyone. But I know if you're a track person or you're a person that needs to ask everybody about Jesus, I'm not upset about it. Uh-uh. It is. But what I love about you is your faith is an action faith. You want to treat people really well. Sure. You want to put others before yourself. I think you do it in business. I know you try to do it at your house and your home, and you want to be an example of that faith. And I'm just proud to have been even a part of your faith story. Sure. Not that I did anything special, but just that moment that for us to have about faith.
Did. And when we talk about things that can change the world and things like that, conversations like that with true friends can.
They can't. You're exactly right.
When people say, you can't, you can't impact the world. Yeah, you can in a conversation because it may be the way.
The ripple effects affect somebody else.
Yeah, and I'm no better than anybody else because of it, but a lot of people don't have that conversation because they don't have that friend at the time. And maybe it passes them by. And it's not to say it doesn't resurface, and hopefully it does for you at home or whoever for that matter. But at some point, I think it does impact the world and the people that you come across.
Man, it's just so important to have good friends. It's so important to find a very close friend that you can share these kind of experiences in life. We can have grief. We can have salvation.
And ask the tough questions sometimes and have accountability and things of that nature that actually, mean something other than just hangout friends. And
we're not getting any younger, so we'll have some funerals that we'll have to continue to attend together.
Yeah.
We'll have some, but I'm looking. Most thing I'm looking forward to being at your daughter's wedding.
Oh yeah,
I'm really excited
next year,
about that.
Less than a year.
I know it. I see her getting prepared and
Put
being
the Beckers on the list.
Yeah,
put the Beckers on the list. Save the day.
Save the day.
Yep.
But
moving from the B to the A.
Yeah.
No, but you mentioned that, and it's a huge step. She's got an excellent fiance.
Well, you want your close friends at those important events. You do. And Wade and Macy, I mean, I love them both. I really like Wade. I mean, he's
and you haven't even met
dude.
him in person, have you?
Yes.
You did?
Yes, in Athens.
Ah, that's right.
In Athens.
That's right.
And
well, I said I was going to see you guys this weekend.
It was a short minute.
And I was telling Macy, and I said,
they were headed to a Clemson game.
Yeah, baseball or something. No,
you're
football. Right. Oh, it was football. Okay. Oh, you're right. They were on the way up.
That's the only thing I don't like about Wade.
Yeah.
I mean, and he knows his team's on the down.
He's also a scratch golfer, so it's kind of frustrating to play with the guy because he's so much better than you. And I'm like, dude, no.
If he's not what worries me the most is he hasn't thrown a game just for you.
You're right.
That's ridiculous.
It actually is.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
And he watches, so
he better watch.
So next time we play,
this is crazy.
Hey, you played great today.
Well, look, he knows Clemson's actually headed down the gutter.
He definitely knows.
He knows it.
Yeah.
He knows that they're not on an upward trajectory. Oh, well, I mean, there's fun in baseball.
Yeah.
It's no crying in baseball.
Third or fourth tier sport of Georgia, but
third or fourth tier. It's not a major player.
But Wade's a great guy, and
he is.
He really
a great
is. Guy. He was jealous that I was coming down. I said, I'm probably going to see Becker. He's like, really? And I was telling Macy, and Macy hasn't been to your new home because I said something about, She's like, well, you're going to cook out or something? I was like, I don't know. I'm not going to be there very long. I said, but we'll certainly hang out outside some. Yeah. And she's like, I was like, you've been to their house before, and.
Well, we redid that. I can't. No, she hasn't. Mackenzie has. And next time. Well, a lot of times it's just you and Kristen coming down.
Or me passing through,
or you passing through, right?
Yeah.
And so it is sometimes. Mackenzie, we had her 21st first birthday at our house.
I think she's been maybe more than once. Though.
Well, I say at our house. We actually. It was kind of like a trip for friends that. I thought was really smart on your end is like we're going to come and be a part of it, but not in it.
Part. That's
right. Because you don't need. Like I learned at my son's 21st a little bit from you, and we're going around Gasparilla, and I was like, I don't actually like to see all this.
Yeah,
that's my kids.
Yeah.
I want to pretend it doesn't happen.
I've been there.
Yeah, I've been there. I've done that. I don't want to actually do all that. So you I was like, I've definitely grown older.
Yeah. Well, they don't, and they want to hang out with you, which is a testament to you being good parents. But they don't want. I don't want to necessarily hang out with them all the time either. They need to do their thing.
They do need to do their thing.
And experience their life.
100%.
But
100%.
But yeah, so they'll be getting married next March. I'll be in Savannah.
That's
so you'll have to take
great.
a trip.
Well, so, I love going on trips with you guys.
That's right.
That's great. I love those trips.
We've done some good trips.
We've done some great trips over the years, and I love whether it's short ones or. We got to get back in you guys couldn't make Texas.
Yep.
We decided to do that away game this year, but we got to get back this fall into the Athens.
Have one weekend away at home somewhere.
That's such a fun trip to do with you all and go to the game and do. That's a lot of fun.
I mean,
we're all alone.
It's not very common that you find great friends that are also the same.
That also love the same school and dive into it.
Well, like Macy's will be a Mercer grad in December.
Oh, that's amazing. Is she going to law school? Does she know what she's? You're not sure what she's going to do.
She's criminal justice major.
I know she's been thinking about it.
So
she's on that. She's not sure yet.
Yeah, she might tell you differently than me, but we've asked, and I don't think she's going to do it immediately. But we'll see. We'll see. But she's a Bulldog fan, so
right.
She's going to have to assimilate to that Clemson side a little bit.
Does she?
Well, that's true. She doesn't really have to.
I mean, just because a girl wrote a song that she wears orange for him, she's still a Bulldog.
Yeah.
I mean, we know it.
That.
She made a song saying she's still a Bulldog.
Fair enough, yeah.
So, I mean, look, she just...
Well, she said, I don't really like purple and orange combo.
Nobody does. Nobody does.
I said, if they'd admit it, Wade doesn't even like it.
No.
He really wants to, he wants to wear
in his heart of hearts, he knows.
He knows. Definitely.
Wade would just give you a hard time, man. We love you, boy.
I'm not. I ain't orange. That purple and orange.
You'll never
awful.
let up. Don't never let up, Joe. Don't never let up.
That purple and orange. No.
Well, Joe, listen. I want to give you one last question. I've been asking everybody that I bring onto the pod. Like I said, I want to make this pod a little shorter. We cut out all the games, cut all that because I really want to talk about friendship and let people see a little bit what it's like to have somebody that holds you accountable to things. Because you call me out on my stuff. and I like to do likewise. We tell each other the truth. We do it in love. Like very rarely am I like, dude, you did this wrong. We will come to each other and be like, hey man, I think this hurt.
Yeah, we talk about
things. We really do. And that's what I love about you. But my last question I want to ask you, I've been asking everybody for like the last 10 pods. If knowing everything you know now, if you could go back to your 25-year-old self and tell them anything, your 25-year-old self, what would you tell them?
Ooh, let's see.
This is Joey now.
Yeah, this is back to Joey. Yeah, I'd probably go back to myself and say, savor the moments that you have, live in the moment, and actually dive into the experiences, not things.
Yeah.
I've never been a big thing person anyway, but I also know those little trips and those little anecdotes of having conversations with your dad.
Right.
Baseball games. I mean, I remember going to, watching, even just watching a game together.
Yeah.
Moments just mean so much more. And, we've tried to do that a little bit more with our kids and not buying them things. And I'd rather go somewhere. That's what they're going to remember.
We stopped doing Christmas.
Yeah,
we do a
trips.
Christmas gift, but we do one trip.
We've done that, that kind of after Christmas time and say, look, of course we have a few presents on the day, but we're not going to, and they're going to remember that, even if our last one was pretty bad. I have to tell you about that off air, but everybody got sick.
Can't wait to hear.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Everybody got sick. Yeah, it's great. No, but they will remember that.
Yeah.
And
they will.
I want, I try to think about what they will say if I did go tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I want them to say, I remember these things about him or these conversations or these events or times. I don't want them to remember, well, Dad paid for my tire. I don't want to hear that.
Joe, you've been faithful. You've been faithful as a friend. You've been faithful as a father. You've been faithful as a husband. Joe, that will always stand out. Like, they're going to remember you. Yeah. They're going to remember you there. I mean, they're going to remember you because you have many more memories, hopefully, because we don't know.
That's right.
Right? But you will carry memories in my life for the rest of my life if we never talked again.
Yeah.
And I know that's not going to happen. Well, again, we don't know.
We don't know. That's
we
right.
don't know. But I appreciate that's a good sentiment. Like being available.
Yeah, go back, savor. I know when I spoke at Jamie's funeral, it was about that dude lived in the moment.
Yeah.
And I loved that about him. It was almost like when you were with him, and a lot of times when we're together, you forget about time.
Yes.
You forget about that feeling when you're out on the.
This is a conversation we would have whether we were in a podcast room or we were sitting out on the back deck.
I don't know what time it is. I looked at my watch once. I don't know.
I know.
And then I think that's important, and that's what I try to tell my kids and anybody. You don't know like that. It's gone. So live in it and try to savor it. We all pass through life and miss opportunities, but that's not that's not really. That's what I wish I could go back and tell myself is that little conversation with your dad watching the Hawks that I don't care about meant more to him at the time. And I look back at those and say, I want to make sure I don't miss my kid's soccer game, even if it's just that one game on a Tuesday. If I can,
make it.
You're going to miss things, but that might be the one game that she remembers forever. And there are times we do that.
I think you're right. I love the little things, though, that you picked up from your dad and just the sense that he wanted you to be informed. He wanted you to have the best that you could possibly. He wasn't making the decision, but he wanted you to have all the information. Yeah. That is so cool that he did stuff like that.
It meant he was thinking about you when you weren't with him.
That's what I love.
And it,
that's a real thing. So my son's not there and my daughter's not there. I have one left in the house. You have only one left in the house. Yeah. Yours is actually a little younger than mine, where you had your two out faster than I had my two out.
Right.
Your youngest is
which we wouldn't have had. We didn't lose the other.
So you may not have.
She was really the surprise rainbow baby, and she's in 9th grade now, so just got her learner's license.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you forgot how bad it is.
Oh yeah, you pull up to the stop sign.
You forgot how bad it is. I forgot how bad it is, and I was only 2 years. You really forgot how bad it is.
Yeah, because I've been spoiled by having them carry each other around.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I forgot how bad it was until I had to do Sophia again. I was like, oh my God, this is really bad.
Well, she did pretty. I let her drive the first time. Yeah. We pulled in the back of the neighborhood, pulled in the gate, and I was like, all right, we're on a private road. Not a lot of bad can happen.
Yeah.
And she did pretty good. Got up and she said, there's a car behind me. What do I do? I said, it's fine. Just turn the blinker on. Okay. Right. She does that. She does a loop. She comes back around. I said, all right, pull up the stop sign this time. Turn your blinker on and turn left. I said, and nobody's around. I'm not going to tell you anything else. She gets up there, cuts the blinker on to go left. She turns right.
Oh, no.
I said, what are you doing? And I almost lost it, because I'm like, what are you doing?
I know.
Yeah, she literally, everything was smooth.
You forget how the nerves are for them.
Oh, she was so excited to just get in the driver's seat.
But still, she's controlling that, but it's just like, can you imagine? Now she's vertically challenged a little bit.
Oh yeah, she moved the seat up and down and forward
she gets
and every
it
which
all
way.
right.
And
That's how my mother this feels like the steering wheel's like in her chest.
I had to get in afterwards. I couldn't even move the car. I'm like, what is this going on here? But yeah, and I told her, I said, and it was kind of weird. You're the same way too. As you age, you become more nostalgic about simple things like that.
Yeah.
And I remember walking in and going, "You'll remember that the rest of your life."
Yeah, she's a smart gal too. She started her own little candle deal.
Yeah,
she's been like very entrepreneurial. She's gone to work and helped out a lot. And so all your daughters are smart as a whip. I know Mackenzie. Obviously, we know Mackenzie better because she was just probably around more when we were living and been around longer. But when we were living there in Henry County, and of course Macy came to many of my daughters, my middle daughters' birthday parties and stuff like that. Mabry's probably the one that I know the least. However.
Sure.
We've spent many vacations down at the house with Mabry, and when she was really young, and she's great. She's funny. She's funny too. Great sense of humor too. Has that continued on?
Yeah, she's there for sure. She's quite the character, but just super. I probably spent more time with her than I have the other two by nature.
Now you're, but she's older and the last one.
Then the last one.
That's the difference. Like when Mackenzie is the first one and the only one, she can't talk or quite understand, and you're training.
Right. And I was working at a different level and a different pace at that time. Yeah. And with Mabry, I have a lot more flexibility maybe in my schedule.
But she's having real conversations and becoming an adult and a young lady. And and she's the only one.
That's right. So
it's interesting with Sophia too. It's interesting that way. But now that she drives, watch at how much you're going. Like I see Sophia, she's a junior, rising senior now here soon, and we see her 2-3 times a week. It feels like. I mean, it's crazy.
Take over.
Well, it's activities and friends and boyfriends, which I just said boyfriend.
Yeah.
So I really kind of thought I would get one kid that would just wait until they were 30 and have a boyfriend.
Yeah,
or girlfriend.
Tend to hang around.
Evidently not.
Yeah, there's worse things.
Although I like all their people, but I just thought she just kind of I wouldn't have to worry about boyfriend girlfriend stuff.
No, it's always there.
But yeah, it's always there. Well, we're going to finish it out. This is a part that I say, listen up, kids, but I'm going to do, again, everything a little different here. And because I think having a close friend is so important, and we have gone through so much life together, I'm going to pray us out. So listen up, kids. I'm going to pray us out. So, Father, thank you so much for my friend Joe. Thank you so much for friends. And I pray everybody that listens to this and driving and whatnot, well, if they're driving, Father, I pray that they keep their eyes open and their hands on the wheel. But, Father, I just pray that they have someone, and that, just like Joe said, that it takes time to make old friends. And I pray that they lean into those people, that they slowly lean in until they know they've got that friend for life, and that they can pray with, that can hold them accountable and can be there, and vice versa in those times of need. Because it's super important, Father. So thank you so much for all you do in our lives. And I just pray for blessings across all of our audience. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So that's it. And, I normally have a tagline, or, what the hell do I know? But we're just going to leave it at that, man. Thank you so much for being such a great friend, dog.
Love it.
And I mean that,
and
dog. I love you too, boy. We're boys.
Yeah.
And we're friends.
Yes.
We're boyfriends.
Yeah.
What the hell do I know? I'm just JB, middle-aged dad with ADD. Candid combos, jokes so lame, jabronis pulling a poker face. Just a couple of dudes with ADD. What the hell do I know? With JB.